Let's talk about this story from the Daily Caller. House GOP will launch probe into Biden administration's response to Maui fires. I would also just add they probably need a response into the Hawaiian government's response to the fires, as well as the Lahaina and Maui governmental responses to the fires, because a lot of questions there. They said the House Oversight and Accountability Committee will conduct an inquiry into the Biden administration's response to the fires, which began on August 8th and completely devastated the town of Lahaina. The federal response to the calamity has drawn intense scrutiny from locals and the media who have slammed Joe Biden's response. So what did he give him? Look at this. People flicking him off, screaming at him, cussing at him. Here he comes after 13 days. What did he do? He gave everyone $700. Is that it?
Yeah. So he gave him. Originally, they said that they were going to give everybody that was displaced, both physically and economically, they were going to get $700 and more. That was the original promise to the people of Maui, because you got to keep in mind that 70 to 80% of Maui's economy is tourism, and originally the government, both the state and federal government, said don't come to Maui. Maui is closed. Okay, so all these people lost their jobs. I'm over there, staying in a hotel in one of the biggest tourist areas in Hawaii. And there's nobody there. It's empty. It's quiet. So all these people, they've all been laid off. And then FEMA, walks it back and says, well, we're no longer giving you money. Once the press pressure went away, they started walking it back. And so, what people there want to know is why? Why does the Biden administration have to be forced to do anything? And $700 in Hawaii, everything in Hawaii is extremely expensive. That's like a half week's pay for most of these people. And a lot of these people have lost everything. And, they work 2 and 3 jobs, so they've lost 2 out of those 3 jobs. It's so infuriating to so many people there, but they don't want to speak out because they're afraid.
Afraid of what?
They're afraid of repercussions. Because I'm going to be honest with you. My experiences with the Hawaiian government, with the Maui government, they're one of the most authoritarian governments in the United States. Okay, I had a run-in with the mayor of Maui, and I posted that video. It went pretty viral. Got like 15 million views or something like that. Where I started pressing him, and he had his police force there put me in a headlock, so that I could not continue to ask him questions. All the other media were allowed to ask him questions. I was not allowed to, because I was asking tough questions. They do not want to be held accountable. They are afraid of looking bad, because these politicians, these are their goals here. It's to get elected, stay elected, and get elected to higher office.
What were you asking him?
I was asking him what was going on. They know. Okay, they found 115 cadavers at this point. They know how many of them are children. And I had I had experts that were coming to me and telling me, like pathologists, that were saying it's very easy to identify. If you find a corpse, you can identify whether or not that was a child. You can go back 2,000 years and be able to identify whether or not that corpse was a child. They're hiding that number because they're protecting their own butts. That's all they're doing.
There's 1 to 2,000 people, quote, missing.
Right.
But it's been like 2 weeks. I mean, is not the assumption just to say those people are dead?
So I went there. I was there for 13 days. Okay. That number went from 110. It's now at 115.
The death rate.
Yes. And now we're talking, there's still, between 800, it depends on what list you're looking at, 800 to 1,000 plus people that are missing. Okay. Where are they? When are we going to declare, other people dead? I mean, it's
yeah, exactly. That's in intense heat. Bodies melt.
Yeah,
there'd be skeletons.
I worked at Ground Zero.
Well, I guess the bones.
No, the bones melt. I was working at Ground Zero, and the firemen would come in at 9/11. I worked there after the cleanup, and the firemen would come in. It was so hot under the pile, molten steel flowing, and they'd be like, "Yo, they think we're gonna find bodies. They find wet Twizzlery substance.
Right.
That's all that's left over.
Sure.
And if there's a fireman jacket, it was a fireman because that's heat resistant, and they'll wrap it up in a flag. But that's it. That's all you find, and the rest of it's liquefying and going into the East River.
Sure, and it might be, but here's the thing that they're doing: they are hiding information that they have because they're waiting for it to go away. They want the media to go away because the media can only stay there for so long, right? It's very expensive to stay in Hawaii.
So if it turns out that 2,000 people burned to death because government didn't give the water, like I've heard, and you confirmed it before the show, but tell me about it, that people within the Hawaiian government, the Maui government, withheld the water from the fire department so that they could not put the fire out.
Right, because, you know, their whole thing out there, look, the Hawaiian government, the Maui government, they're very liberal. Okay, it's one of the most liberal states in the U.S. You think California is liberal? Hawaii is 2 steps to the left from there. I mean, it's crazy. And so, you know, we're talking about one of the reasons that the fire got so bad is because they don't do any sort of fire management out there. It's because they want it to be natural, just as the land, you know, as it was before. That's the government. You have all these people lobbying the government for that reason. We're not talking residents. We're talking environmental groups that have a lot of power out there. And so they're diverting water away from these towns. And so you have people that were more than capable, even firefighters that lived in Lahaina that were unable to put the fires out in their own houses because there was no water. There wasn't enough water that was being sent to Lahaina. And so you have firefighters that are on scene that can't do anything at all. They can't put out the fires. They have no ability.
I've heard this rumor going around. A lot of people talking about it, that they set up a roadblock to get out.
Yes.
And people were turned around to go back into the fires, but some people just broke through the barricade and ignored it.
Those are the ones that survived.
Is that true?
That is 100% true.
Wow.
That is why you see the videos of on Front Street. That is the main road. And, you know, just being in Lahaina for, 10 days I was on the ground there. There's one road in, one road out. Okay? If they're blocking that road, you're not going anywhere.
Why were they blocking it?
Because there were downed power lines. Okay? But here's the thing. You have Hawaiian Electric coming out now. Maui County is suing Hawaiian Electric, saying that their power lines sparked the fire. Okay? Whether or not that's true is, you know, a different argument. But when the roads were blocked, the Maui County government was saying that the power lines were electrified. Okay? That's why they couldn't let anybody through. That's their claim. Now, when Hawaii Electric is saying, oh, yeah, no, they weren't electrified at that point, there's no reason that these people couldn't have gone through. So, but the people that did break through the barricades and drove over those lines, they didn't have any sort of effect from it. The effect that they had was that they survived. The other people burned in an inferno. And,
wow.
You know.
So it sounds like the government's making a false claim that the power lines were active?
So there's a barricade. What was the barricade? Do you know?
I mean, they had cops that were blocking the road.
But at a certain point, the fire got so bad, those cops had to flee too, right?
Yeah, well, but the people that were near the end of the barricade, or, you know, closest to the end of that road, they were able to, it was blocked all the way through the fire, actually. Right. But they were far enough away, the cops were far enough away that, you know, the people that were closer to the front of the line, they ended up surviving the fire. It was the people that, because the line was so long, that it's a 2-lane road going all the way back. The people that were near the center of town.
Are there buildings on both sides of the road, or is there access to water?
So all the roads were blocked. Let's make that clear. But the Front Street, which is the main road there in Lahaina, that one was blocked as well. That is the main road.
I'm saying to the right.
You had water on the. So if you're driving out of the town, you had water on the left side.
So people, I'm assuming, got out of their cars and jumped into the water.
Some of them were bailing, but some of them that were bailing into the water also died because it was too late. The fire was already engulfing these buildings. You had a lot of wind, and that fire was crossing into the water.
A lot of people don't realize how hot fire is. No joke. Obviously, you've had a campfire and you felt the heat. Stand in front of a building fire, and the fire can extend 100+ feet, and you're like, whoa, and you're backing up.
Right.
When I was, I tell the story about when I was in Ferguson, driving down the road, seriously, like 100 feet away from a burning building. And inside the car with the windows up, it felt like my face was in front of a campfire. And I was like, damn, like, we got to move. It's too hot. It's crazy.
And this, we're talking 80-mile-an-hour winds that are, you know,
blowing the heat into you.
Yep.
People, you're saying people burned to death in their car waiting to get out and held at a stop by the police, and they burned to death while they were waiting?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And that's why they don't want to talk about this. That is why they're trying to brush this all under the rug, because there were so many people that died in their cars. There are children that were found in, like, car seats in the car, very young children that were burned to death. They found the cadavers. And, that's infuriating to people, especially residents that were there. Like, their children were killed because they were burned to death because the government is totally inept on every single level.
We do have a super chat. Jack Fox is saying bones don't melt or burn. After a person is cremated, they're put into a, what it says? They're put into a machine that pulverizes them into dust.
Wow.
I don't know. Someone want to fact check
this.
They
soften. Man,
look it up.
This reminds me of Uvalde, where the cops wouldn't let the people go in to save their own kids, and they're like, "No, you can't. It's too dangerous. We're gonna not go in at all." What in the fuck? Look, you at some point get out of the way.
Bones don't burn during cremation, is what I'm seeing.
Wow, look at
that. And these people, I'm telling you right now. So one of the biggest things that happened here, first of all, blocking the roads. I'm sorry, if I'm a cop and I see an inferno that is about to come incinerate hundreds of people that are trying to drive down a road, I'm sorry, I don't care what the commander is saying. I'm moving out of the way.
Well, but these cops are evil.
These cops are evil.
They thought there was an electrified power lines. They actually were probably given bad information by their
banality
commanders.
of evil.
I don't care. You drive over a live power line slow enough, you're fine. I'm sorry. They're gonna survive that more than they're gonna survive an inferno. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm gonna let you do what you want to do. If you want to drive around in the grass, people were able to do that. Drive around in the grass. I'm not gonna stop you. And a lot of these cops, they are now still simping for the county government, and it's crazy. It's like, do these people, they have no shame? What is it? At some point, you have to. Not a single Maui cop has come out and spoken out against what happened.
They probably have immense guilt that they murdered those people on the road.
Absolutely, yeah. And people need to be in jail for this. People absolutely need to be in jail. Well, especially the Maui Emergency Management Administrator, okay? Because this is the guy that decided that he wasn't going to turn on any of the sirens. He was going to, he said that if we turned on the sirens and people were going to come out of their houses and they were going to run uphill into the fire. I'm sorry, but I don't believe that the people of Lahaina were stupid enough to walk out of their houses and run into a burning inferno. I'm sorry, they weren't going to do it.
Why have the sirens at all if not to warn about fire, right?
If you go on Hawaii, the Hawaiian government's website, you will see that it says the sirens are multi-purpose. They're supposed to be used for dam breaks, terrorist attacks, wildfires, tsunamis, all of this stuff. I mean, there's a laundry list of things. So basically what they did, he got up there and lied. Okay? So if anything, he's guilty of negligent homicide. Okay? Because it was his decision that ended up killing all of these people, all of these elderly folks and children, the adults that lived in the town, like the parents, because I said they worked 2 and 3 jobs. They're outside of the town. They work in the tourism industry, so they're way outside of the town. They're in other parts of Maui, and it's probably 45 minutes away. That's where a lot of them work. So they couldn't get back there in time, especially because the roads were blocked. I mean, it's infuriating, but again, they're trying to brush it under the rug.
What time did the fire start?
So it was about mid-afternoon, and so that's why a lot of these parents were at work. They couldn't get home to their children, and schools were closed.
Why?
Because the power was out, which goes back against Maui County government's argument. Them saying that, oh, well, the fire started because and the lines were live when the fire started.
Well, that could be why the power was out, right?
Well, because they shut the power down.
Lines went down, started a fire.
Yeah.
They shut the power down.
So 3 o'clock in the morning the night before is when the power, when the line started going down.
Early that morning.
Yes. So we're talking, there was a 10-hour difference, and then one of the brush fires started about 1 p.m. Okay. So we're talking 10 hours here. And and then they said that 1 p.m. brush fire was 100% contained. They sent the firefighters to another part of Maui, to Kula, which is probably about 45 minutes away, to fight a fire out there. So there were no firefighters, for the most part, except for off-duty ones that were in Lahaina at that point. That 100% contained fire ended up spreading ferociously throughout the town. There was no water. There were no firefighters. What are you going to do about it? So,
My guess is I would have went into the ocean. I mean, that's not like I did see a video of people that went into the ocean and survived, but and then it was like 10 hours in the standing in the water. Not all of them
survived.
But you're in smoke too. Yep. So the smoke inhalation could still get you. I mean, that was the crazy thing, watching these videos of people standing in the water and they are in a cloud of smoke.
So it's possible that some of the missing people,
older people, yes, there are a lot of people that have died
washed away
in the water. Yeah, because you pass out, you're in the water, you pass out from smoke inhalation, you're going to drown. Because you're going to fall down, you're in the water.
And then you get washed away and people don't find you.
They will not find you. They're trying. They are actually down there. There is a big search effort in the water still to this day. From the day that I left, I was there 3 days ago. I'm going back this week. And they have a huge search effort in the water, but the death count still hasn't gone up because they're not finding any bodies in there. They know people died in the water.
This is the problem with chicken ranch government, chicken nanny state governing or chicken ranch governing, that the police say, we know what's best for you. We won't inform you about what's going on. Shut up and do as you're told. And then you die.
Which Hawaii has had very intensely, probably always, but definitely in the last couple of years with COVID. They had some of the most intense COVID restrictions and therefore had tested how compliant their population was. Right. I'm curious, I don't know if you can speak to this, but what's the reaction from the islands around it? I mean, like, do the other communities kind of parrot the same lines as, Lahaina did the best they could, or are they critical of how Lahaina managed the fires?
So it's actually it's a very polarizing issue out there. Most people, even a lot of the Democrat-leaning people that I've spoken with out there are like, this was a catastrophic failure of government. The people that they voted for, they have totally lost faith in these people. These people got very comfortable. The mayor, especially, and the governor of Hawaii, both very liberal Democrats. They got very comfortable out there. They thought because it's a very blue state, and even the people that are typically their voter base are now questioning whether or not that's a good decision because they've gotten way too authoritarian, and there's no sign of that going back. They are putting so much pressure on the people to try to maintain that power, maintain that grip on the narrative, that a lot of people are waking up. And that's not due to the mainstream media. That's due to independent journalists that are calling them out.
I keep thinking about how the cops stopped people on the road where they burned to death alive. Obviously, they were alive if they died. But that's the most... I mean, it's not like Soviet lockdown because they weren't throwing them in gas chambers, but like they held them in a gas chamber.
Yeah.
That's the banality of evil.
Yeah.
Right? The idea that the individual cops didn't think they were doing anything wrong. They thought they were doing something good, but in fact, they are responsible for the death of all these people. If the cops were not there, some people may have run over power lines. I mean, who knows? But a lot more people would have just driven out of this disaster zone and survived.
Well, I'm sorry. Like, I cover disasters. That's what I do. Okay, I've covered tornadoes. I've covered hurricanes. You can drive over live power lines. Okay? Just don't speed over it.
Why?
Why can you drive over?
Or why is faster worse?
Well, because I mean, you risk shooting that line up into the frame of your vehicle, and you don't want to do that, a live line.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.